All right, I believe we're live. Thank you everybody for coming out tonight. We have the buzz on home electrification this evening. We are recording this tonight, so you can watch this live later on, or you can watch this recorded later on Facebook or on our website. So don't worry if you miss stuff. We're going to go through a lot of stuff tonight with Nick. So just, roll with it, enjoy, and look it up later if you need to. We're also going to send an email out to everybody who registered tonight. So you're going to get a link for this. And if there's any additional stuff that comes up tonight you want to know about that we mentioned, we might plunk that in the email as well. So you can also access that. So you will have plenty of time to go over this. Nick tonight is going to speak for about 45 minutes, and then we'll have 15 minutes afterwards for questions and answers. If you do have questions tonight, be sure to put them in the Q&A section at the bottom of the screen, not the chat. The chat's basically disabled, I think, for everybody except for us internally. So please put anything in the Q&A, and we're going to go through all of that at the end. So I know people sometimes miss that part in the beginning, so I'll try to remind you as we sort of go through that, that we're not going to be able to do this until the very end. I believe that's it for now, but I did want to introduce Nick here. Nick Skalnik is with Nick and Eddie Construction. Nick is with a construction family. We know his family very well. We've been working with them at the Chicago Bungalow Association for since the Paleolithic era, I believe now. And incredible family, DNR Construction. Many of you have worked with Nick is from the DNR Construction family and has worked with them his entire life. He also has done 8 years of HVAC work before this. And then he's been focusing on electrification for a while now. He's done close to around 100 homes in the Chicagoland area already, where he's completely electrified them. And it just keeps going. We keep piling, people keep piling more and more on him, I know. So we wanted to talk about this tonight because it's such a hot topic lately. And everybody wants to know about heat pumps. Everybody wants to know what the heck electrification is. So with that, I will pass it along to you, Nick, whenever you're ready to pull up your presentation. Looks good. You're still muted though, just to let you know.
Okay, thank you very much, Carla. Thank you everyone who's with us or will watch this at a later date. Yes, I've been around construction my whole life since I was a little guy to now being a big guy. So again, my name is Nick Skalnik. I'm the Vice President of Nick and Eddie Construction. And we have done about 100 homes fully electrified. So the topic tonight will be the buzz on home electrification. By the end of tonight, we would hope to give everybody a very good understanding of what is electrification and what does it entail for you as a homeowner for your home. Hopefully you'll walk away with a good idea of what's an air source heat pump and other heat pump appliances that are now coming into the marketplace for your home, which have really helped make electrification more possible. And then it's how can I start the process of electrifying my home? It's a very daunting task to figure out where you should start, and hopefully explaining to you all the process that goes into electrification, you could figure out exactly where it will be a good start for you. The benefits of electrification, the cost of electrification, and then we'll end tonight, like Carla said, with a Q&A session. Okay, so it is, what is home electrification and what does it entail? Home electrification means replacing the equipment in your home that uses fossil fuels, typically natural gas. In our area, we don't really have too much propane or oil, but so we would typically be replacing natural gas appliances with electric alternative appliances. At your home, this might include replacing your gas fuel heating system. That could be a boiler, a furnace. If you have a steam boiler, we could be replacing that with a high efficiency air source heat pump. It would also be, when you're doing that, hopefully at the same time, you could take advantage of putting in a smart thermostat to control your equipment. Then we could be replacing your gas-fueled water heater with a heat pump water heater. Even if you don't have a gas water heater, but let's say you have an electric resistance water heater, it's a great option. Heat pump water heaters run about 4 times as efficient as a standard electric water heater. So electrification isn't just for people who are dependent on gas, but also people who are dependent on just regular electric heating equipment as well. Then you could get into the appliance part of it, which would be replacing your gas oven with an induction oven. And then we could replace your gas clothes dryer with a heat pump clothes dryer. That's a little tough. It's actually been one of the most difficult line items that we've had to deal with in people's homes, because everybody does laundry different. Everybody has different size houses. So on some homes, heat pump dryers just weren't a smart solution. We did install electric resistance dryers because they have 6 or 7 people to depend on that dryer. And with the current dry times for the heat pump dryers, it just wasn't a good fit. And then once you would go through all these measures, you would finally end your gas service. You would just call the gas company and ask them to suspend your service. Just to go through, I'm going to try to go through a couple of the pictures as we're going. You have the air handler. That is the first picture in the top corner to the left. Then you have an induction cooktop, slide-in range. Then you have the gas meter in the bottom left-hand corner. That is actually, we must have been at this house working, and we've shut off the gas service because they no longer are dependent on it. And then actually the picture where we are bringing in the heat pump, the outdoor condenser into the backyard. So those are what the pictures are. And what is home electrification? What does it entail? It's not just about replacing appliances. Other considerations that may be discovered during an electrification audit include, we always have to look at your existing electric load and your current capacity. We always have to pull a permit to upgrade any electrical capacity. So we also have to look at your electrical system in your entire home for any code violations that may be brought out through the electrical inspection process. So we have to be upfront about that. And it's just a real thorough way for us to make sure we don't fail any inspections. Existing heating and cooling equipment, appliances, and the distribution issues. So the existing heating and cooling equipment, like we talked about, we're going to inspect it. We're going to inspect how it's currently installed, where it's currently installed, if that makes the best sense for where your new equipment would go, and especially the outdoor condenser, because we don't want it to be in an area where it's going to take heavy wind loading. So then we would also, during that visit, we would look at your appliances and just try to communicate with you, like, oh, how many people live here? How do you do laundry? And make sure that the equipment that we are going to spec for your house meets your demands, your family's demands. And then the distribution issues, real popular. A lot of bungalows, Cape Cods, everybody has the same problem. My upstairs is always hot. My upstairs is always cold in the winter, always hot in the summer. So as what we can do is, the nice thing about using the heat pump is we're just moving refrigeration from the inside to the outside. So we're able to set up smaller indoor cassette units, being a floor mount, a ceiling mount, or even a high wall mount unit. So we're able to really look at your home, find out where the issues are, and we're able to hopefully install the equipment in a proper way that you're able to be more comfortable in your entire home. And the nice thing about a lot of second floors in bungalows and Cape Cods is that you're not always up there. Maybe you sleep up there at night. Maybe your kids come home and they go up there only at night. You're able to have multiple zones in your house with this equipment, so you can heat and cool your upstairs only as you're using it. So it always also offers better savings that you're not always heating and cooling it with the same way you would other traditional natural gas systems. Then we have to run all the next step would be to determine how we could run the new lines for all your electrical appliances. We would have to make sure for the stove, we have to make sure for the new dryer, and then of course for your outdoor condenser, and then your new indoor air handler, and of course if you needed any of the cassettes. So that's just about trying to communicate with you where we could open up walls, what it may possibly detail. So until we start to cut the walls open, there's been walls we cut open and there's just too much in that wall for us to use it. So it's always got to be of an open mind that we're just roughly talking to you about what the actual process can be. Then we, of course, have to get into the related construction costs, the general construction fees, the permitting, and in some cases, the health and safety improvements. A lot of time, just doing the electrification is going to give you some real good health and safety improvements, especially because you're no longer going to be burning fossil fuels in your home. So we've been like, the number one thing we hear is just like, oh, I feel so much better. And we didn't even consider that when we first started electrification 2 years ago, is how people would feel in their own homes. We were just trying to electrify the home. And it's been one of the biggest things that really came out of it is, oh, I felt horrible for years before, and the last year of my life, I've been doing better. Permitting is always, depends what you're going to do. It depends how far we have to go for permits. The general construction fees, if you start to do everything, you may want someone to GC it for you. So a general contractor to handle all the different trades that you'll need, from the plumber to the electrician to the HVAC. I think those fees are very limited on residential jobs, maybe bigger in multifamily, but it's just something where you don't have to handle every trade to come in to do the electrification process. The pictures, this is one of the new panels that was installed in a home that we did. The reason that they had the new panel is their old panel was not sufficient enough to run all the new electrical loads that we were putting on their house. That's the picture in the top left corner. Then the picture to the top right is of the new electrical service drop and the meter bank. And then we have the picture on the left. I really wanted to include this because, yeah, the unit doesn't, well, it appears bad. It looks bad. You could clearly see all the corrosion on the bottom, but it was operational. But the one thing is this unit is nowhere near as efficient as even it's rated. It's clearly been degraded. The efficiency is probably very low. It's not working as it was intended. So to replace this kind of equipment, I mean, you got to take notice of why it's like that. This has been peed on by a dog over time, and the dog urine is very acidic and it eats right through the aluminum fin. So the one thing is nice you'll see in some of the pictures is our units sit higher off the ground. Unless you have a very big dog, I think it would be very hard to pee on the unit and destroy it, but it is vulnerable as well. So keep that in mind. But when we're looking, we look for little stuff like that to make sure your new equipment will not be treated this way. But also this homeowner should know they're going to get a big savings off of replacing that unit, even if it is currently working. And then this is actually the picture on the bottom right corner. That's Eddie with one of the homeowners teaching her how to use her new heat pump dryer. Eddie is the president of Nick and Eddie Construction. He's been doing this a lot longer than I have. Okay, what's an air source heat pump system and other heat pump appliances? How do they work? How do they look installed in your home? Why are they better than regular electric appliances? It's all about the efficiency. So let's move on. We'll answer that through the next couple of slides. But what is an air source heat pump system? The electric air source heat pump system is a highly efficient, fully electric system that provides both heating and cooling in your home. The system is composed of two units, a condenser, which is the beige unit, the outdoor unit, and an air handler, the indoor unit. We only use Mitsubishi Electric, so this is the equipment that we're looking at right now. There is other equipment on the market. Okay. So we have the warm months and the cold months, and how do air source heat pumps work and what's the benefit? So the one benefit of a heat pump really that we did in electrification is people who had boilers, they either had window units or they had no air conditioner. The nice thing is heat pump will offer both air conditioning and heating. So in the warm months, it's a heat pump works exactly how your window AC or your current central AC, they work. If you go inside, the refrigeration is flowing through the coil, and then the air from your blower motor or any type of motor is pushing air across the coil inside your home, and the air is coming out as cooled air, dehumidified. And then you can see the air, the Freon loops back to the outside and it's exhausting the heated air. And then in the cold months, it does the same exact thing, but all we add is a reversing valve in the outdoor unit. And as what happens is now we are going to the Freon's being pushed to the outdoor unit, and the outdoor unit is taking the cold out. And then by bringing the Freon, by us pressing it, we're able to heat it, and then we push it back to the inside. That's what the compressor is doing it. We push that to the inside through the coil, and then the air, some type of source moving air blows the air through the coil, and then we heat the air inside your home. So I'm gonna read the numbers at the bottom. Probably should have done that first, but I'll read them. That way you kind of know what the parts are. One is the compressor, which increases refrigeration pressure to accept the maximum heat from the air. And then two, we have the condenser. The coils move refrigerant and with it hot or cold air to or from outside air. So the condenser is the outdoor unit. Then we have three, the evaporator. Coils move refrigerant and with it hot or cold air to or from outside air. Then we have the four, an air handler. Fan blows air into a home's duct system. So it sucks the air through your returns and it pushes it through the supplies. And then five, you have the reversing valve. Switches the direction of refrigerant flow, changing the heat pump's output to hot or cold air, controlled by thermostat. Yes, that is controlled by a thermostat. You would either go to cool or heat as you do now. One of the great things, like I said, about a heat pump are for people who have the boiler systems, who then get the comfort of the air conditioning. So air source heat pump system, more efficient than a furnace, but can take slightly longer to reach your desired temperature, especially in extreme weather conditions. If your unit is not able to maintain a comfortable temperature in extreme cold weather, the electric resistance heat unit will kick in to supplement the heat automatically. The filter in the indoor unit is disposable and must be replaced monthly. And then the unit run by a smart thermostat. All the time we want to use smart thermostats on our systems. The reason is because the control is helps us drive savings. If you can control the temperature, you know, when you're leaving or going, it you know, if you could control it, if you leave and you forget to turn it down and you still control it from far away. Some people have geofence smart thermostats. They could tell when they're approaching their house or they're getting so close, it could actually turn the system down for cooling or up for heating. The filter in the indoor unit is disposable and must be replaced monthly. That's something we choose to do. The filter, there is a filter that may come with some air handler systems that are not disposable but washable. We chose to go with the approach of giving out the disposable filters because it's actually a better filtration than the filter, the washable filter that comes in the air handler units. We've removed those filters and we've added in a regular filter slot That way we can actually control better the amount of dust and that's getting in on the indoor coil. The more preventative maintenance we do, or at least the more filtration we do on that air coming in, we're able to better take care of your air handler for a longer time. And the A coil is your heat exchanger, so you really want to make sure you're protecting it. You don't need the top filter, but don't buy the cheapest fiberglass filters either. A good mid-tier filter will really help out to keep your system operational for a long time. If your unit is not able to maintain a comfortable temperature in extreme cold weather, the electric resistance heat unit will kick in to supplemental the heat automatically. This is true and this is false. I would want to say any electrification we do, we add an electric lockout kit. We control when our electric heat kits turn on and off. Let's say it's a day where it's 60 degrees outside and your kids, they leave the front door open for 45 minutes. Anytime we run the electric resistance heat to boost the heat in your home, that starts to become not a very energy efficient way to heat your house. So we control it with the temperature outdoors. We tell it off the design, the manual J that we do for your home. We're able to tell exactly where that heat pump should and will not be able to perform to heat your home. So we set the electric lockout, the electric heat kit lockout. We set those hard set, and you know, the heat kit will turn on and off at the temperature we know that unit can't provide the heat for your home. If you're in your home and it may take longer, you know, it's 60 degrees, they left the door open, you want 75, and you know, your house gets down to 71, it's not going to heat it as fast as a furnace or boiler would. It's not to say it's not going to heat it, it just may take an hour or an hour and a half to make up that 5 degrees. So that's one thing to notice about a heat pump, is it just doesn't heat as fast. So, but we also shouldn't automatically kick in electric resistance heat. So we give it that hour and a half, and then your home will be back up at that 75 degrees. More efficient than a furnace, but can take slightly longer to reach your desired temperature, especially in extreme weather conditions, as I was just saying. So let's say we get a polar vortex and the outdoor unit's just not able to keep up. Well, the heat lockout kit will notice that temperature outside. It'll know the unit's not performing to what it needs, and it'll automatically kick into the electric heat kit. That's all actually proprietary to Mitsubishi. They have a timing built into their control boards. So the unit automatically knows how long it should take to reach the temperature in your house, or at least what the coil temperature should be. And then it can call for the electric heat kit. If the temperature outside is below the parameters that we set, it'll allow your electric heat kit to turn on to bring your house up to the temperature desired. Okay. Heat pump domestic water heaters. These are pretty new on the market. Maybe in the last 5 years, they really started to become more available. This is a picture of one that we were installing. I thought it gave us the best shots to show you without all the pipe insulation on it and everything. This right here, the digital control panel will show you water temperature, operating mode, any problems / alarms, etc. Connects to the home Wi-Fi / smartphones. If the water heater use is over capacity, it will take some time for the hot water to replenish. This is important, it does take a little longer than an average water heater. It is normal for the water heater to make some background noise. Air filter needs to be cleaned regularly. Control panel alerts you. Once per year, drain several gallons of water. Every year you should be draining your water heater of several gallons. It just keeps the sediment off the bottom or from the tank itself. Air filter needs to be cleaned regularly. Control panel alerts you. On the top, there is a air filter. That's probably why you see the copper pipes ran the way they are. When we install them, we keep that in mind, that you have to remove that filter and clean it. So we install it in such a way that you can get that in and out. If it is normal for the water heater to make some background noise, there is, as you can see where the slots are on the side of that water heater, that's a fan. I mean, at every heat pump, you have to have a fan moving air through some coil, and that's what's happening there. So you get a little noise from that water heater, and you'll have a little vibration, a little, I don't want to say vibration because people are going to think their house is vibrating. You could hear a little compressor inside that water heater as well. It's not terribly loud in my mind. Everybody has their own noise level that they consider loud or not, but that water heater is, has a fan and a compressor in it. If the hot water use is over capacity, it will take some time for the hot water to replenish. This all goes off of how energy efficient you want your water heater to operate. There's different settings in the water heater, so you can pick if you have a large family, 5 people, 6 people, everybody wakes up in the morning and takes a shower, you're going to want to pick the water heater to reheat that water as fast as possible. The water heater would most likely, you would pick a higher setting than just the heat pump setting. That way you can meet the demand of your family. Just to know whenever you have to change that setting, you also take away the one benefit of this water heater, which is the energy efficiency of the heat pump. So, if you can structure maybe a little bit of time in between showers or something and let the water heater heat itself with the heat pump, you're going to have that 4 times the savings that the water heater can offer. If you need hot water, nobody wants to wake up, everybody wants to take a shower at the same time, that's no problem. It's just you probably have to select a less efficient setting on the water heater. They do connect to home Wi-Fi and smartphones. Really don't have too much to say. You download the app on your phone and you can connect it. It's in the owner's manual. The digital control panel will show your water temperature, operating mode, any problem, and it has an alarm. They do have an alarm. We had one had the Mr. sensor went bad, and they do alarm. It's a little more than what most homeowners would want to deal with. The water heater does not stop working at that time. It just switches its settings to an all electric setting, and you can quiet the alarm down and call for service. This is a heat pump's clothes dryer. We have smaller load sizes are recommended to increase the drying speed. Most loads will take a bit longer to dry. The interior coils in the unit must be cleaned monthly. You must clean your lint trap after every use. So as we're talking about them, let's look at the pictures. The picture all the way to the left before, that's an old dryer at the same house. It was just a regular gas dryer. And then you had, we put in this house, a LG heat pump dryer. And then in the bottom underneath the dryer, you see the dryer termination was capped off with a mortar patch. The dryers, heat pump dryers, as the same as the water heater, they do heat, they don't heat as hot as a gas dryer or as hot as a gas water heater. The temperatures just aren't as hot. So with the dryer, your clothes aren't going to get as hot. It's actually one of the benefits of people love about it is their clothing is actually in much better condition after 10 dries as it was if they probably dried that same shirt in a gas dryer. It doesn't get as hot. The one problem with that is it does take longer to dry a load of towels or a load of laundry in general. You could probably do a load now in 45 minutes to an hour. And in this dryer, you could be an hour and 30 to an hour and 40 minutes. I always try to talk to people about the benefits of the heat pump dryer and maybe just trying to consider how they do laundry. Like I said, we did install a couple electric resistance water heaters. Those people were only able to do laundry on a Saturday. That's a dryer, I'm sorry. They were only able to do laundry on one day a week. So they need to do laundry for 6 people, and this dryer probably not a good idea for their family. So is what we try to do is try to get people to maybe change the way they consider laundry, maybe doing 3 loads during the week and, you know, taking advantage of the savings that we could offer them with these dryers. We've had no complaints about the dryer. They don't make real large sizes. They did. Whirlpool made a 7.4 cubic foot dryer. It had real bad reviews because it's using the same compressor as a 4 cubic foot, just trying to dry double the laundry. So it would run for 2 hours and hit the time limit and shut off, and the laundry was still wet on the inside. So we started to use only the LG and the Samsung, and really haven't had bad feedback other than the original feedback when we bring it in and it's smaller than what they currently have. The interior coils in the unit must be cleaned monthly. Yes, there is a coil on the inside. You have to brush it. And that brush is just because you're moving the air through it, just like the water heater, just like the heat pump outdoor. You have to clean that coil because naturally basements are sometimes a little more dusty, and you're doing the laundry, it could suck some of the lint through and it gets stuck to that coil. So you just have to periodically, once a month, just take a brush. It's about 12 inches long. You put it in, you brush it down, and then you move it over. You should clean your lint trap after every use. I think that's with any dryer. We should be cleaning our lint traps. It also, one thing I want to point out about a heat pump dryer is it's ventless. There is no vent connected to it. So it doesn't depressurize any rooms or anything like that. That's why you have that extra interior coil that you have to clean. It's a ventless dryer, so there's no connection to outside. Electric range with induction stove. We can see in the 2 pictures real fast, the before the white stove, that's a gas stove. And then after, we have an induction slide-in range, which is also Wi-Fi capable. So most of the new stoves are. An induction cooktop is a type of electric cooktop that does not use natural gas or flame, uses electromagnetic energy to directly heat the pot or pan you are using. You will need induction-ready cookware. Induction-ready cookware is any cookware that a magnet could stick to. Of course, you know, so if you take a magnet off your refrigerator and it could stick to the pot or pan, it could be used on an induction-ready cookware. There is, of course, different grades of metal that people would use. And of course, you could get into the debate about what's a good induction pot or pan. But if you want to know if you have an induction pan, you could stick your magnet to it and then you could use it. Cook times will need to be adjusted. Induction cooktops heat up quickly. And then the final bullet point, safer, healthier, and cooler kitchen. The safer and healthier is something that is, as I talked about earlier when we started electrification, we weren't thinking about improving people's health in their home. We were thinking about just electrifying homes. But people, they just talk about how much better they feel. And I actually, at my own house, I wore my CO monitor and I would start up my stove. And, you know, if you stood by the stove for the first 30 to 45 seconds, you would be about 40 parts per million CO. Imagine if you cook lunch and dinner at home, you're exposing yourself to elevated CO levels multiple times a day. And if you're cooking in the oven for a long period of time and you don't turn on your exhaust fan or you don't crack the window by your stove, all that carbon monoxide is in your home and you and your family are breathing it. So the induction offers no, range offers no carbon monoxide, no CO. So it's a very healthy choice to go with. The cooler kitchen is because it uses the electromagnetic energy. So the heat is it's directed, it's transferred directly to the pan. You don't have to heat the pan and then have standing loss. The cook times will need to be adjusted. Induction cooktops heat up quickly. They do, they heat up very quickly. I was actually amazed myself after our first one we installed and somebody showed me how fast the lady was amazed how fast she boiled a pot of water. So then we had to call the whole team up to her kitchen to see just how fast the water boiled, and it was very fast. The one thing a lot of people will do is maybe they don't have all the ingredients cut up right away. They used to, warm up the pan, warm up the food. Well, induction, it's warm right away and you're cooking right away. So just maybe understand the cook time. Maybe, you have to cut up the rest of the food before you start cooking, because it's gonna cook very fast. You will need induction ready cookware. I already talked about that. Cast iron is actually a real good induction ready cookware. There's many pots and pan sets now. Induction's becoming more mainstream. It's a requirement in some places. So of course your induction ready cookware is really everywhere. You could go into a Target or Walmart and buy induction ready cookware these days right off the shelf. It's not something that has to be specially ordered. Uses electromagnetic energy to directly heat the pot or pan you are using. Yes, it has a magnet under the glass cooktop, and it spins, and that's what starts to heat up the metal in the pan, and that's what causes the heat. And it's simultaneous. It heats up right away. You don't heat up the glass top and then have to heat up the pan. It's the magnets heat directly to the pan. So if you move the pan off the cooktop within about 30 to 40 seconds is completely cooled down. An induction cooktop is a type of electric cooktop that does not use natural gas or flame, and that's true. It uses electricity. This is me in one of the first homes that we did for the electrification. He was standing in front of the unit. He's a very good guy, and we've had a couple opportunities to work with him and his family. The slide is, how can I start the process of electrifying my home? The bullet points: electrification audit of home, insulation and air sealing, plan of attack based on budget or life circumstances, can take as little or much time as needed. So in the coming slides, we're going to start talking about some of the costs that are associated with the electrification. So the plan of attack really has to be based on the budget and the circumstances of the home. If you know you want to go the electrification route, maybe your water heater is 15 years old, and that's where you're going to start. And that's going to be a good energy saver, but at the same time, it's one of the smaller ones. It's the two appliances, then the water heater, and then you get the most savings with, of course, your heating equipment. The insulation and air sealing, that's, of course, it's something we can offer in the electrification audit, or if it's something the Bungalow Association has programs as well to help with insulation and air sealing for eligible members. If not, it is something that we do offer as well. I would recommend to do your insulation and air sealing first, because we are going to size your equipment off to your current house. So if we come in and you say, oh, I plan to do this and I'm going to insulate my house in 6 months, and then we put in the equipment and 6 months later you say, oh, I'm not going to insulate anymore, puts us in a bad predicament. We size your equipment for the way your house is when we come to do the audit, not off of, unless we're the contractor doing the work, unless we're for sure that it's going to move forward. Benefits of electrification: the environmental impact, super efficient technology powered by renewable electricity, removing fossil fuels reduces carbon emissions and helps fight climate change, safer and healthier homes. Burning of natural gas in buildings produces harmful indoor air pollution tied to increased risk of respiratory disease. Greater impacts on those with existing respiratory condition. It's the future. Illinois incentives. Adequate, reliable, affordable, efficient, and environmentally sustainable electric service at the lowest total cost over time. Illinois Power Agency. I think these are all pretty self-explanatory. We all have to live here on Earth, and we all want to do the best we can to keep Earth in a healthy shape and, you know, for especially us, but for the people who have to live here after us. Okay, we're gonna start getting into some of the cost savings. The average single family vintage home in Chicago reports an average of $95 per month savings, which comes out to about $1140 annually. These are numbers that come directly from work that is we've done. So these are good numbers. These are not through somebody else. Adding rooftop solar saves to an additional $500 in utility cost annually. You could learn about the Illinois solar incentives through CBA, the Chicago Bungalow Association. They have a solar program. So if you're interested in solar, that they can help you out. Gas service line can be disconnected, which comes out to about a $60 monthly savings we were able to find. You have to pay for the meter, you have to pay for the service. Even if you only want to use your stove, you're gonna pay over $60, $50 to $60 per month just to use a stove. And you think about it, that's the savings comes in $720 a year. We calculate that savings. Excuse me. We calculate that savings as well. See next slide, for example, of a bill analysis / an estimation pre and post electrification of a single family Chicago vintage home. Okay, we have the cost savings analysis. This is before electrification. We could see that their total utility bills come out to $2,163 per year. Then we have the measures, the after electrification, the measures. We replace the heating system. We save $419 per year on the heating system. We install a smart thermostat. We save $32 per year. We replace the gas fueled water heater with a heat pump water heater. We save $1 per year. This could be a family. I don't know exactly which house this was, but this is a real analysis. This could be a house where they had multiple family members, maybe 6 or 7, and the water heater wasn't on the most energy efficient setting. Replace gas oven with an induction oven. They were able to save $5. Replace the clothes dryer with a heat pump clothes dryer. They were able to save $7. The gas service fee savings of $717 at this house. So their total savings for the annual year was $1,158. The cost of electrification, the full process can cost from $25,000 to $45,000. This really depends on many factors: the size of the home, the condition of the home, repairs needed, the code violations when we do the electrical upgrade, etc. And then it's also the equipment cost based on preferences. That goes back to if you want a $6,000 induction cooktop, well, you're gonna be on the higher end of the cost. It's all off the equipment that some of it is more personal for you. The cost breakdown, the electrical panel upgrades and new lines for electrical appliances. This is typical, runs between $10,500 to $17,000. Depends on other potential electrical code issues as well. You know, if your closets, do they have covers over the light bulbs, or are they open light bulbs? If you have BX running everywhere, you know, those are all things that will have to be upgraded at the same time. That price does have at homes where we have to do some more code violations as well. The air source heat pump system is $21,000 to $32,000. This includes the material and labor. Can go higher if you have multiple existing HVAC systems. So that's more for some of the multifamily buildings or buildings, just homes that maybe have two systems. Poor distribution may require wall / floor units, as we were talking about the wall cassettes and floor cassettes. Those are good, you know, like I talked about the bungalows or a Cape Cod on the second floor, it never gets cool in the summer and it never gets hot in the winter time. So you're using electric resistance heaters to heat up, you know, in the winter time, and then you're using window units in the summertime. Well, yeah, this looks expensive, but the savings you're gonna get out of that one system is really gonna stand out to you. So this is the end. This is thank you. I hope I did a good job explaining to you maybe about heat pumps, but more about like what is electrification and what are we really doing when we go into the homes. We are taking out anything that's fossil fuel burning, and we're replacing it with electrical appliances. Thank you. My name is Nick Skalnik with Nick and Eddie Construction. If anybody has any questions that maybe we don't get to tonight or anything else, you guys are welcome as well to reach out to my email. Carla?
Yeah, thank you so much, Nick. That was great. We covered a lot there, and we'll put your email also in the email that we send out to everybody. Just to remind folks, because I know a lot of people joined a little bit late. We're recording this tonight, and we're going to send out a follow-up email to everybody who signed up tonight. And in that, you'll have a link to the recording. We'll have Nick's email in there, you know, if you need to ask him some follow-up questions. And we're going to take we'll take 15 minutes, so we'll wrap up. You're almost right on time. It's impressive. We started 5 minutes after, I guess. So you actually were right on time, 45 minutes. So we'll do 15 minutes of questions like we always do. We're not going to get to all of them most likely. But again, you can email Nick if it's urgent and we don't cover it with our little Q&A section now. So I'm going to start with one that, you know, of course, everybody wants to know, especially with the price breakdown, and a few people asked, do you know of any incentives that are available in Illinois right now? Is there any way to offset some of these costs?
Yes, so a couple ways. There's some personal tax incentives that people are able to capture, and that all actually ties into their income. So it's more income qualified by the federal government. And there's also some direct rebates that through the ComEd, we as a trade ally are able to directly offer to our customers. Those rebates are on those prices that we listed. They would have additional incentives off, and that really goes by the system that we're installing. If it's the heat pump water heater, the heat pump to heat and cool their home, they have different incentive for one-to-one, which would be like if someone had a back porch room that they were heating, they have you know, one outdoor unit would tie to one indoor unit. That's why we call it a one-to-one. They have a different incentive level for those units. So there is, I think it's like 2,500 for a whole home heat pump. I think we were around like 1,500 for a one-to-one. And off the top of my head, the federal, I don't remember exactly, but that was income based.
Okay. Do you happen to know a website or anywhere they can check on that?
Maybe when we send out the link.
We'll try and get some information about that for folks, because we know the numbers are bigger for that, you know, to do the whole kit and caboodle. So yeah, we'll look for that and drop those in the email as well for you folks. And then this question came up, and I think it's important because it is a little confusing right now. Bridget asked, so this is going to be mandatory that we electrify our homes, or will this always be optional? Do you know what's coming down the pike that way?
I believe it's becoming more and more not going to be an option. I don't want to say California already doesn't sell any natural gas stoves or appliances. And in New York now, even if you were to want a gas cooktop, you still have to already prep if you're building new construction, you have to have the electrical already ran for an entire electrical house. And it is, most of the houses we see, the new construction that we bid in the Chicagoland area, the people are already looking towards the electrification. It's actually a pretty good, you know, bundle for new homes being built here. So we do a lot of the new homes are all already electrified.
Yep. I know they're sort of phasing them out gradually, but that's a little
Yeah,
different than being like tomorrow, everybody must get a heat pump and all of the heat pump
yeah,
systems. But yeah, it's going to be harder to get gas.
yeah. I think it'll come down the road. The
Yeah,
one thing it's easier for new homes is because they have to run the conduit and their walls are open. And it's going to be much harder for us to retrofit the entire United States, especially with the cost and coming out of COVID with the supply issues and shortages. And, we're still, as a company, we still deal with supply shortages all the time. I know people are tired of hearing about it, but there's still a lot of supply issues and prices haven't come down since COVID. So it's definitely the number one factor.
yeah. I know you've been stockpiling dryers for people.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, um, do you have to rewire your home if you have a fuse box and not a circuit breaker box?
By fuse boxes, if they're talking like the screw-in fuses, yeah, well, if it's cloth wiring, yes, you have to rewire. But most of the time, if you see screw-in fuses, you are dealing with cloth wires. So I would say yes to that question, but that question has like 5 more questions that we would have to check into to really answer it. But
Yeah.
cloth wiring, yes.
Okay. And I know somebody else a little bit later had asked, and I know you talked a bit about electrification or upgrading your electrical system, but could you just remind us one more time, like, what is it about this equipment that makes people required to sort of upgrade their electrical panels?
Okay, it's just because of so most homes, they were only intended to power, the blower motor, a condenser. Most of our big appliances, we wouldn't realize it, are natural gas. Your stove, how many, just imagine the BTUs of it, which is the heating capacity. Then you have your furnace, which is natural gas, and then the heating capacity of your dryer, and then the heating capacity of your water heater. We have to turn that capacity into electricity. That's why we have to most of the time look in the city. In the city and some suburbs, most of the homes are either 60 or 100 amp, and we could not put that load on those breaker boxes. So we have to upload the service drop, and we have to put the new 200 amp meter in. It's just to be able to support all the electric components that we're adding into their house. That's why we look at the electricity is really because we have to make sure what we're putting in their home, that the electricity in their home could support it. And almost 95% of the time they can't. But I want to bring up one fact, and that is most of the homes we do the electrification on and we're doing the electricity, these are homes that probably really need it. And we see service drops that like inside are completely rusted out and the wires are, they're going to have problems sooner or later anyways. These systems need maintenance too. And, this is maybe a time if you have 100-year-old bungalow and you have a cloth wire running down the side going to your electric panel, it's probably about time to start considering you need some electric help anyways.
Mm-hmm. Oops, sorry. Every time somebody types in here, it shifts all the questions. So this is a great question. And, solar panels came up. And again, if you have questions about them, we might be able to connect you with some places to contact and work with through the Chicago Bungalow Association. So you can always give us a call or email us. But somebody asked here, if you're thinking of installing solar panels, is it something you should do first before going electric? Like, what's the order of that?
I think it's a good conversation to have with the solar installer as well, because maybe if you could have higher capacity, like maybe they base your capacity off what your current load is. And so I would think that's a good question to ask to a solar guy, how they base what they put on your roof. Are they basing it off of, they come in and they count your current load? Well, your load after electrification is going to be much higher. So you probably wouldn't have anything to sell back. So I would think if it's something you're really considering, maybe talk to us both, and we could see how they do their load calculations for solar panels. I'm not 100% sure how they do that. I think it is a great question, and a question that we should be asking. And
I know,
if
I
there's a
hadn't thought of
way,
that.
and if there's a way to store the electricity within your own home, has been a real popular question.
Mhm. Okay, this is relevant because I know you deal with this a lot. Do you handle a heat pump? Do you like installing a heat pump, replacing an existing forced air system that's ducted? Is that something that you do?
Yeah, that's exactly what we can do. Yes.
Yes, that's what can a heat pump be retrofitted to a high velocity duct system, Unico or space pack to replace a traditional air conditioning condenser to make it heat and cool?
So I don't know any manufacturer. So we actually are licensed with SpacePack. We're an installer of SpacePack. And with SpacePack, you could probably use a less ambient, not a low ambient heat pump, but you could probably use a heat pump that could get down the, certain temperatures, and you could pair it with your SpacePack. But I don't know any low ambient manufacturer who's gonna be okay with crossing over the, like Mitsubishi, never gonna tell you their unit's gonna work with a SpacePack. So
Mhm.
you would have to just go with a regular heat pump condenser. So it is possible to put a space pack with a heat pump. It's just probably not as possible to put it with a low ambient heat pump to guarantee heat output all winter, if that makes sense. Once it got below 30, you would probably have to, if they have a space pack, they maybe have a boiler system or something. After such a temperature that you wouldn't be, it would be cheaper to turn on your boiler than to run that other heat pump. But if they want to get in contact with us, we could definitely look at, what they currently have matched up to their space pack, and maybe even put in for an inverter heat pump, which is really energy efficient.
Okay. This is a really good one too, just to sort of hammer home. Do these replacements need to happen all at once, or can it be done a little at a time? For example, I may need to replace my tankless water heater. Can we start with just that?
Yeah, the nice thing about electrification is you can start as slow as you want, right? So if, like for this homeowner, they have a tankless water heater going bad, they can, we can put in a heat pump water heater. Um, there will be certain questions that will come up, and it's really good is for us to see how invasive we have to get for starting to run conduit, because naturally for the water heater, you're going to need a new electric supply from your breaker box to that area. But you can do one thing at a time, or you can do it all at one time. I would say the most important is to know what you want to do and make sure your current electricity can handle the initial loads that you would want to do, and then make sure at some point that the electricity does become of a project as well.
Okay. I know a few people in here, and folks who are putting questions in now, just to warn you, I don't think we're going to get to them. We've only got 5 minutes left, but a few people had asked, they were concerned about how the dryer doesn't vent, and
Okay.
mold issues, and how does that affect the ambient temperature of the room?
Okay, that's probably didn't do a very good job explaining the dryer. So they are ventless, but in the same aspect, I talked about how you had to clean that additional coil. That's because is what happens is before the unit exhausts the air outside, it runs it through a coil that is like a evaporator coil. So the coil is very cold, and as that hot, humid air crosses through it, all the moisture sticks to that coil and drains down in the inside the dryer. And as what happens is there's a pump located on the dryer, and we pump that water to the sink or to the drain, wherever it is. So there is actually not much of a huge changeover as far as the room goes. It actually cools the room. So all the time you would notice is that the unit, if it's on, it's going to be probably a little cooler near the unit, but it doesn't like overheat a room, and it doesn't make the basement or a closet more humidified. It handles its own humidity. That's how come it takes a little longer to dry.
You know, all
So
this stuff still seems like magic, like you're a warlock installing all of these things. You're so different, you know what I mean, in these regards.
yeah,
Does electrification system accommodate a tankless hot water heater?
no, because when a tankless electric water heater turns on, it instantly has to go from 0 to 100 instantly. So basically, you're putting 60-degree water out, you want 130-degree water out to get to your faucet, and you want it now, and you want it to run for a long time. It takes a lot of electricity to do that. So there's not many tankless products that would be like nearly as energy efficient as a heat pump water heater. We The heat pump water heater is so efficient because of time. Time is on the water heater's side. So we can slowly heat that water back up, and we could take, initially everybody wakes up in the morning, the family takes a couple showers, the water heater is sitting 8 hours unused. It's heating back up over that 8 hours, and probably can heat up within that first 2 hours, but it has the long time to heat up. So no, there's no comparison between a heat pump water heater and a tankless. The tankless is probably much less efficient.
Couple people were concerned they don't like the sort of Wi-Fi aspect of things, and they're like, can you just kind of get the old timey, like
Uh,
more straightforward?
just don't use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put in the stoves, and it has I mean, that's so many things come with Wi-Fi now that it's just like, if it's not your preference, just don't download the app, don't use it, and then you don't know it's there. There's nothing that we install that you have to download the app, if that makes sense. I've yet
Yeah.
to see like the dryer where it didn't operate because there's not an app. It's just there for people who want that convenience, like the app on the dryer, it does take a little longer. So on multi-story houses, or where some people are, they don't want to walk down to check the dryer. So it just gives them a little alert, hey, your load is done drying. But it's nothing that we can just delete or take off or purchase without it. It's built into everything we buy these days. So sorry, but I would say just don't use it.
Yeah, as long as
Yeah.
there's the option, I think that's the important part if you really don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Um, all right, we're just a couple real quick ones, and then
Yeah.
we're gonna have to
Yeah.
wrap up tonight. Is the outdoor equipment noisy? Like, is it gonna bother the neighbors?
No, it's amazingly quiet. It'll amaze you how quiet Mitsubishi Hyperheat heat pump really is. Um, Months every so often in the winter time, you'll hear the reversing valve energize, and you could hear a short rush. I don't know, maybe for a few seconds, maybe for about 5 to 6 seconds. And I'm saying loud, but that's because the unit's so quiet. So when it does that, you're like, wow, there's the unit just did something. But even that is incredibly quiet. They really are very quiet. We had people, because we always look for our placement of our outdoor condensers. So we worry about windows and where we're putting it for their safety as well. And the one lady's like, I don't want to buy this wall, it's gonna be so loud. And I said, well, what do you consider loud? And she told me, I'm like, oh man, it's nowhere near that. And I have a video, I don't know if you guys want it, we could send it out, but it could just show you how quiet the units are. Even in a full ramp, they're nowhere near as loud as your current air conditioner that's outside your home.
That would be-
Very quiet.
Yeah, we can include that in the email for sure.
Yeah, you can send that.
And then Julie had a question about how long does it generally take to recoup the cost of the equipment?
So off of the savings, I think you see, I don't know which house that was, so it's hard for me to tell them on the analysis, and like what equipment that she would be considering. All the equipment, like a full electrification, I and I'm thinking we could be close to like 15 to 16 years on a full electrification. But I think there's other factors that you have to consider as well. And that would be the health benefits. I know it's really probably one of the most understudied things about electrification is how people feel after we do it. Um, there's people who have their kids have horrible asthma, and we're done. And they're like, yeah, my son hasn't had a trigger in asthma in like 4 months. And every other week we were, dealing with this. I mean, yeah, it's because their water heaters were spilling in their home. They had high levels of carbon monoxide and they had no idea. So we could probably maybe look more into which analysis that was, and we could, at a further time, maybe if she wants to contact me, I could break down an analysis and really get her the true savings and how long it takes. But I think we're into that 16-year on a full electrification. I mean, all that we would have to really, because the price of gas is going up. So at some point we have to calculate that in as well.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, sorry, that wasn't a quick question for you. That was me to put that in at the end.
No, I think that's amazing.
But it's also if you have solar panels, right? If you had a rebate, or if you, depending on if you have to get the creme de la creme of, some of those appliances too, right?
Oh yeah, that's very much the truth.
Absolutely.
And the usage on those appliances for her family.
Right. Well, Nick, thank you so much. I'll let you go. We've gone a little bit over. I really appreciate you sticking around.
Thank you so much for
Again,
having
if you have
me.
additional questions, we'll have Nick's email in the follow-up email we'll send out to you guys. It's Nick and Eddie Construction. You can also look them up if you need to. I think that's about it. We've got a couple other materials we'll plunk into that email as well, along with this recording. And we'll see you guys at our next webinar, which you can find on our website as well. So thanks again, Nick. Have a wonderful evening. It's beautiful.
Thank you, everyone, for joining me.
All right. Take care.
Bye.